chaos in Bamako as Islamist militants seize a luxury hotel in Mali's capital. How Malawi is using iPads and other new technology to improve education. And move over, Bieber. There's a new Canadian Justin in town, and he's causing a commotion. Africa 54 starts right now.
Good evening and welcome. I'm Vincent Makori. This is Africa 54. Tonight in West Africa, calm in the nation of Mali was suddenly disrupted by at least 4 gunmen who officials say stormed the Radisson Blu Hotel in the country's capital, Bamako, killing at least 3 people. But there are media reports that that number might rise. Authorities say 170 people were initially being held hostage at the luxury hotel, but the agency France Presse is reporting that there are no more hostages in the hotel, but that has not been independently verified. Initial reports say the gunmen released hostages who were able to recite verses from the Quran. UN and Malian troops surrounded the hotel and the roads leading to the facility were sealed off. Army Colonel Mark Chittle, a spokesman for the U.S. Africa Command, says that U.S. Special Forces are assisting in the incident. Colonel Chittle also said that 6 U.S. citizens are among the people who have been recovered from the Radisson Hotel. And a short time ago, Reuters reported that an African jihadist group linked with Al-Qaeda has claimed responsibility for the attack. Now, authorities say the gunmen arrived at the hotel in a vehicle with diplomatic license plates. The attack underscores the threat posed by Islamist militants who remain active in northern and central Mali despite the presence of UN peacekeepers. Joining us now by phone from the Malian capital is journalist Katrina Hoije. Katrina, please give us the very latest.
Well, the latest is that the hotel seemed to have been secured, although we are still hearing explosions and occasional gunfire from inside. An ambulance and several...
Looks like we've lost Katrina there for a minute. We hope to reconnect with her. Well, the European Union is tightening control of its perimeter borders Friday in the aftermath of last Friday's deadly Paris attacks, including new checks on the passage of Europeans returning to the formerly passport-free zone. Now, the EU says travelers will not only have their passports examined as they enter the bloc, but personal information will be compared with database and an airline passenger manifest. The steps are being taken since it was revealed that the now dead ringleader of the attacks, Abdelhamid Abaoud, had entered the bloc.
No information coming from a European country where he could have transited before arriving in France was given to us, suggesting that he must have got into Europe and then continued to France. It was only on November 16th, after the Paris attacks, that an intelligence service from a non-European country signaled that it had been aware of his presence in Greece.
The manhunt continues for at least one suspected terrorist on the run since the deadly attacks last week in Paris. Belgian authorities conducted 9 raids Thursday in several parts of Brussels, but saw no sign of Salah Abdeslam. One man mourning the Paris victim said he would rather forget the terrorists ever existed.
I'm just back from doing a video for a friend of mine who has lost his daughter in the Bataclan, so I prefer to concentrate on the families who are mourning, and sincerely, I don't care, really, about that guy.
Planes headed out Thursday to conduct more airstrikes on northern Syria, the safe haven for Islamic State militants. Well, as France continues to search for possible suspects in last Friday's deadly terrorist attacks in Paris, the country remains under a strict state of emergency. VOA's Daniel Scherf reports from Paris.
The 3-month extension on the state of emergency grants police broad powers to restrict freedom of movement, conduct searches, and even place people under house arrest, all without the authority of the court system. Some French worry that these restrictions and plans to arm more police could become more permanent. But French authorities say as the manhunt and raids continue in France and across Europe, they are a necessary but temporary measure. Daniel Scherf, VOA News, Paris.
Well, there's widespread mourning following the recent terrorist attacks in France, Lebanon, Egypt and Jordan. But in the Middle East, some say their tragedies are being sidelined by the Paris attacks and that the Arab world is being unfairly cast as the birthplace of extremism. We get more from VOA's Heather Maddock.
In Beirut, mourners honor the 43 victims of the bombings last week. They say in the wake of the attacks in France, they feel forgotten by a world that sees Western tragedies as more important than those in the Middle East.
The one thing that bothers me is the absence of media during the explosion in Beirut, whereas everybody's posting about the incident in Paris.
In Egypt, ministers and mourners gather to grieve, and Lebanese, French, and Russian flags light up the pyramids. Russia says a bomb explosion caused the plane crash that killed 224 people last month in Egypt. Almost all the victims were Russian. At the French embassy in Cairo, Arab dignitaries say France is a historical leader of democracies and express confidence France will prevail over its attackers.
They will win over the brutal, blind terrorism. We are with the French nation against this criminal terrorism act.
But others in Cairo say the outpouring of grief for France highlights a lack of sympathy for victims in the Middle East.
People around the world show solidarity to the West because they think Arabs caused the problem, fostering terrorism, and we all commit these terrorist attacks everywhere.
He says the Islamic State militants who have claimed responsibility for recent attacks in Paris, Egypt, Lebanon, and Jordan that have killed more than 400 people are from all over the world, not just the Middle East. But the Middle East, he says, has suffered the most. Heather Murdoch, VOA News, Cairo.
Well, Pope Francis is set to land in Nairobi November 25th, and Kenyans are excited for his arrival. One sewing group in the Nairobi slum of Kangemi has been working overtime to design and make the clothing that will be worn by clergy during the visit, including 2 special vestments to be presented to the Pope Francis. VOA's Jill Craig has more.
Pope Francis has a full schedule while in Kenya. And to ensure that he's properly attired, the Kenya Conference of Catholic Bishops asked the Dolly Craft Sewing Project to make the Pope's vestments, the garments he will wear during the various ceremonies. Sarah Ndungu shows the 2 chasubles they made for the Pope, one featuring Maasai beadwork and another more traditional one.
I would like him to choose this one, with the African touch.
Alice Ngundi was asked to make this chasuble with Sister Ida Lagonegro. It took 4 days to design and construct.
I just looked at that material and I saw I can make something African. Yeah, so I designed something which I was helped by a sister. And we came together, me and her, and we brought out something nice.
The workshop was also asked to make the majority of the clothing for clergy attending papal functions in Kenya. That includes 60 chasubles, 615 albs, and 2,000 stoles. The 30 or so workers have been stitching, embroidering, and ironing about 14 hours a day, 6 days a week, since the beginning of October. But Ndungu says the extra work is worth it.
And even when we are doing it with a good heart, because we have never had such an opportunity.
The Pope is scheduled to visit their community, Kangemi, on his last day in Nairobi.
And maybe somebody will tell me, these are the people that made for you the vestment, maybe. So that at least he will send his blessing. That is what we wish.
But even if this wish doesn't come true, these tailors are proud to have dressed the Pope. Jill Craig, VOA News, Nairobi.
Well, we want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we covered. Join the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa 54. Check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Find me on Twitter at VOA Vincent Makori. Well, coming up, how Malawi is using technology to improve education. Stay with us.
This is BizBeat.
80% of the people in the Democratic Republic of Congo do not have electricity. Kerosene lamps, candles, and fire huts are common sources of light. Entrepreneur Malanga Washikola, co-founder of Alltech, is trying to change that. His company distributes solar energy systems to off-grid and under-electrified households. When he first started, Washikola says his business was risky.
Because we distribute solar kits and products on credit, and we spread the payment over like 2 to 3 months.
Recently, Washikola spent time at the largest solar provider in the U.S., and his internship there helped him learn how to improve his company.
You know, it provides me with a lot of skills and knowledge that I can apply back home when I go back to my country.
Washikola's goal is to provide solar electricity for some 2 million locations in the DRC in the next 5 years. For VOA's BizBeat, I'm Philip Alexis.
I wanted to present music and a side of American culture that is most important to me, that is a part of who I am. They're going to get some incredible performances. That's one of the things I love, bringing these artists in so you can get to see them do what they do. It's soul music, and that's what music is. It's that which comes from the soul.
Welcome back. A new case of Ebola emerged in Liberia on Friday. This is a setback for the country declared free of the disease on September 3rd and for the region, which is struggling to end an epidemic that has killed more than 11,000 people. Liberia's Minister of Health, Banish Dan, says the patient is a 10-year-old boy who lived with his parents and 3 siblings in Painesville, a suburb of east of the capital, Monrovia. All 6 family members, as well as other high-risk contacts, are in care at an Ebola treatment unit. Now, the 10th International Conference on Cancer in Africa is taking place in Morocco. The conference, whose theme is Roadmap to Cancer Control in Africa, is organized by the African Organization for Research and Training in Cancer. Africa 54 health correspondent Lino Mudu is attending the conference and now joins us on the phone from Marrakesh. Hello, Lino.
Hello, Vincent.
Yes, first tell us what are some of the topics that were discussed today?
Several topics were on the agenda today, including breast cancer. They presented several studies that were conducted in various countries such as Nigeria, Ghana, and Sudan. Also, topics were around the incidence of the disease, progression, treatment, and cultural and social impact of cancer control in general in Africa. Another topic is malignancies in the setting of HIV/AIDS infection. In other words, looking at cancers that can develop with HIV/AIDS, including cervical cancer and Kaposi sarcoma, which is a cancer that usually develops on the skin.
So what are experts saying? What are the challenges, especially in dealing with this HIV-related cancer?
Well, there are several challenges that they mentioned, but specifically a few of them, they talked about a better understanding of the link between HIV and cancer is needed and necessary for the improvement of care of HIV-infected subjects, among other things. There's also the need to implement well-designed population-based study in order to better describe the spectrum of AIDS-associated malignancies, as they say, and the most effective strategy for the prevention, screening, and treatment, as well as understanding the mechanism of cancer occurrence in the general population.
I also know that you've been talking to experts and officials there. Who did you speak to, and what are they telling you?
So I spoke to several people, including Mr. Arnold Vasquez, who is a board scientific officer of the American Cancer Society. What I wanted to mention is Dr. Christopher Wild, who is the director of the International Agency for Research on Cancer, a division of the WHO. He talked about the priorities for research on cancer in Africa based on 3 broad areas. He said that first, the need to understand the burden of cancer in Africa is a reality, and one of the issues he mentioned is the need for accurate figures which lack in many cases, understanding number of cancers and the type of cancers in each country. And also, he talked about understanding the causes of cancer in Africa, as the continent may have different risk factors. For example, infections are responsible for 1 in every 3 cancers in Africa. That's what he says. And he says that this gives the indication as to what intervention should be used. And the third aspect he talked about is also based on that knowledge, is studying what is effective in preventing cancer or detecting it early.
Now, I don't know if this has been discussed, but for a long time, people didn't realize there was widespread cancer infections in Africa. What are the experts saying? Is it that we are getting to know more, or that actually the cases are just increasing?
You know, what we hear a lot is the fact that cases are increasing because of lifestyle changes. They talk about Western lifestyle. And when I ask, what do you mean by Western lifestyle? They say, you know, nowadays people have more access, for example, to car. They don't walk so much anymore. People have access to fast food, such as French fries and other things. And, yes, so these are some of the reasons.
Thank you. We'll continue this conversation another time. Thanks a lot, Lino. Africa 54 Health correspondent Lino Mudu reporting from Marrakesh in Morocco. Where first-grade students at 63 public schools in Malawi are now using apps as part of a new initiative to improve learning. The goal is to reach 3 million learners in 5,300 government primary schools across the country. It is also aimed at addressing challenges like textbook shortages and overcrowding. But some educators are questioning if technology is the answer. Lamek Masina reports for VOA from Lilongwe, Malawi.
First and second graders in Malawi are lagging far behind standards in counting and literacy, according to a recent study by the international development NGO Volunteer Services Overseas. Some officials say large class sizes are to blame. VSO began distributing nearly 2,000 iPads to classrooms around the country in December 2014.
So we want to introduce technology to be a support for the ministry, for the teacher, to provide essentially one-to-one tuition for the child so that they can master the basic foundations of numeracy and literacy.
Students work in special learning centers. Teachers say the initiative is a relief.
Because in the normal class we have a lot of learners, so it's difficult for a teacher to go to each and every learner.
Students listen through headphones in the local language, Chichewa, and answer questions. The app was designed by the UK-based software company 1 Billion.
During normal classes, it becomes difficult to ask a teacher to repeat what she has said, while with iPad learning, we just press the repeat button.
Project implementers say students using the iPads are now testing as many as 2 grade levels ahead. But educators say the devices cannot replace the teachers.
And we have few teachers. For example, if a teacher is absent, and it's difficult to operate the learning center and the class with one teacher.
Education activists question the sustainability of the program.
So, coming in with the iPad, it may solve the congestion problem, but then have we solved the lack of teachers problem? And we hear that the program is being funded. How sustainable is this program to the Malawian government? Are we going to be able to continue to run it after the donors have gone?
VSO says efforts are underway to secure continued funding. Lamek Masina for VOA News, Lilongwe, Malawi.
Well, it's time now for a short break. Still to come on Africa 54. Canada's new Prime Minister sets hearts racing in the Philippines. We'll be right back.
If you've just joined us, I'm Mariama Diallo, and here is a quick recap of today's headlines. In Mali, 3 people are killed and 80 are freed as special forces stormed the Radisson Blu Hotel in Bamako, where suspected Islamic militants had been holding dozens of guests and staff hostage. In Liberia, the World Health Organization reports a new Ebola case is found after the country declared free of the disease in September. In Zimbabwe, the First Lady, Grace Mugabe, confirms at a rally that she has no intention of running for president. And finally, in Morocco, funeral services are held for architect Mohamed Amin Ibn al-Mubarak, one of the 3 Moroccan victims of last week's Paris attacks. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Hamilton Live is a live audience performance. With live music, you have that interaction. There's nothing like getting that immediate feedback from the folks that you're performing to. They feel it and they respond back to you. You see it in their eyes. You know that you're connecting with them. Like if any form of communication, it's that response that you get back.
Welcome back to Africa 54. Here's what's trending. Well, no, this frenzy isn't because of Justin Bieber. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau had to be whisked away from an Asia-Pacific summit by police bodyguards as hundreds of excited journalists and staff swarmed around him in a bid to take photos and say hello. The handsome Trudeau has generated rock star-like enthusiasm during meetings in Turkey and Manila. A Twitter poll with the hashtag #HATI asking users to vote for the most attractive leader at the summit has been trending heavily. Local media declared Trudeau the winner, although Mexico's president gave him a run for his money. Well, next up, Karate Kid Mahiro Takano is a third grader from Niigata and social media's newest star. She featured in singer Sia's latest music video Alive, which has gone viral since being posted earlier this month. In a backdrop of stark gray, the girl wearing a black and white wig, evocative of Sia's haircut, performs a dazzling routine with quick fists and kicks and an adorably determined concentration of energy. Karate is vying to be chosen for the 2020 Tokyo Olympic Games, and Mahiro has now been chosen as an official ambassador for the sport. Well, and finally, a blindfolded man identifying himself as a Muslim offered hugs of empathy to mourners at a vigil for the Paris attacks. Media reports say the man, who did not give his name, held a placard proclaiming, "I'm a Muslim and I'm told I'm a terrorist. I trust you. Do you trust me? If yes, hug me." Video of the exchanges in the city's Republic Square went viral on social media websites, and that is what is trending today. Well, it's time for our Friday Sports Report, and here's Sunny Young with the sunny side of sports. Sunny, you have said sad news today for rugby fans.
Sad news indeed, Vincent. Sporty greetings once again to our Africa 54 viewers. The sunny side of sports remembers Jonah Lomu, the powerful New Zealand rugby legend who died Wednesday of kidney disease at age 40. Lomu is shown here performing the traditional haka dance with members of the All Blacks of New Zealand in Britain, where they won an unprecedented third world title. Rugby fans are both celebrating and mourning Lomu this week. He's being described as the sport's first global superstar who had a huge impact on the game. A bruising and powerful winger, Lomu set a record of 15 tries in World Cup tournaments, which was equaled by South Africa's Brian Habana this year. New Zealand Prime Minister John Key praised Jonah Lomu for both his rugby career and his charitable work, saying he had packed a lot of life into his 40 years. Here's a sunny side of sports salute to the unbeaten, red-hot, and defending National Basketball Association champion Golden State Warriors. Led by sharpshooting guard Stephen Curry, the Warriors won their 13th consecutive game Thursday night, beating the host Los Angeles Clippers 124-117. Curry, the league's reigning most valuable player, fired in 40 points, while backcourt partner Klay Thompson added 25 more. The Warriors have 2 players with ties to Nigeria. Backup center Festus Ezeli is from Benin City, Nigeria, while swingman Andre Iguodala's father is Nigerian. The Warriors beat LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers in the NBA Finals in June, and they look more than ready to defend their title. I'm VOA's Sonny Young, and that's the sunny side of sports. Vincent?
Well, thanks a lot, Sonny, and be sure to watch the sunny side of sports every Monday and Friday right here on Africa 54. Now, we close our show today with a video by Malian griot Basiku Coyote and his wife, the singer, Ami Sako. Thanks for watching, and have a good night from Washington.
Music is something that brings people together.
Music educates, it motivates, it's a bridge.
Music.
Ali.
On.
VOA.
qubanaha VOA waxaan ku soo gudbinnaa qubanayaal goosgoos oo xiiso badan oo ku saabsan arrimaha Soomaaliya, Mareykanka iyo caalamkaba.
haddaba qubanaha VOA-da kala soco website-keena voasomali.com.
From VOA Learning English, this is the Technology Report.
I'm Milar Sega. I'm the host of VOA's The Correspondents.
A roundup of the world's top stories.
Here's a false choice in more ways than one.
We can't actually put you there, but we can come pretty close. In 30 minutes, we'll show you the world.